Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to this third installment of Sex Wars in Washington, D.C. I am your host, Richard Urban, King Richard Urban, and I am coming to you from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. And today we're going to continue, and our title today is Gaining Ground. And walking through the experience we had and the work that I had and our organization had working in Washington, D.C. Why? Because these same things keep happening again and again. And also I want to record the history of it and hopefully make a difference in some people's lives. And hopefully today we're going to be talking about some of the things we've been doing. And now we're some 15 years out from when we started in, say, doing clubs and working in D.C. schools. And we'd like to hear a shout out from some of the youth. Did they abstain? Did they not abstain? Do they wish they'd abstained before marriage? Are they married? Do they have kids? Hey, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a holler, comment, and that'll be great. So today I'm going to be showing you some slides, i.e. pictures, from our early retreats in 2003 and 4. And then I'm going to share about our journey. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's informative. I hope it makes a difference. Right now, about 60% of all youth are abstaining from sex before marriage, at least through high school. And that is up. More youth are abstaining. In D.C., it's similar. Just in the time we were working there, we found that the rate of abstinence increased from like 23% or something of the youth abstaining in high school to around about half. Just around half the youth were abstaining. So actually it's grown a lot too in the city areas and in DC. So that's a really good thing. So even more than in other areas. So that is excellent. So let's walk through this journey together, and I hope it's instructive, and let's get started. And in fact, when I attended in September 2002 the National Conference in Washington, D.C. for the Abstinence Clearinghouse, founded by Leslie Unruh, then that was a really good conference, and that really solidified my desire to teach abstinence. And there were other groups too, as you can see here, True Love Waits, and also the Pure Love Alliance, and many other groups were going. These slides are from our retreats in 2002, February 28th, no, 2003, February 28th to March 2nd, and in September 2003, September 14th, and also in May 2004. So I hope you enjoy them. They were at Camp Fraser in the Northern Virginia area, Metro DC area. So, getting back to the topic, the National Abstinence Education Association was an excellent organization. So I committed my resolve there, and I also met the group who had a display there called Teen Advisors, and they're in Columbus, Georgia. So actually, I went down to their retreat in September 2002 with Lon Subata, who later founded the Wait Team, which has done a lot of good work. So, in any case, also active groups at that time and that were mentioned in the Abstinence Clearinghouse Conference were the Pure Love Alliance. And that was a group that was founded by Unificationists, followers Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Unfortunately, soon after that, it became primarily defunct. But nonetheless, they had a strong program up until about that time in 2002. They were even mentioned by Cal Thomas, one of the speakers and a columnist at that conference. There's also the True Love Waits movement. I believe that was actually inspired by the Pure Love movement of the Unificationists, and that was sponsored by the Baptist Association. And, yeah, I think the National Baptist Association and Lifeway Resources. So those are good movements. So momentum was growing, and we hit the streets running. And initially, we approached my local school, And one of our advisors, you see in the slides here, is Mr. Techley. He suggested we start some clubs. But initially we were just giving classroom presentations. So we had, I went to the school, and I didn't really know how to approach it, but that was my local high school. So I went there, how to approach the school I meant, and I made a point of the principal, and actually a young lady, Rashida Jolly, who was working with the abstinence movement at that time, we went there together, and we talked to the principal, and the principal said, "Oh, okay, abstinence, yeah, okay, sure, I guess so." He wasn't overly convinced, but he said, "Okay, talk to Miss Moore," and we did talk to Miss Marsh, I should say, not Miss Moore. And she was the earth science teacher, so it didn't really matter, whether it was the earth science teacher or, some other teacher. And eventually, like I said, Mr. Techley, the chemistry teacher for 10th grade, heard about it, and he invited us to come. So the word was spreading. Sincere, honest teachers, knew that this would really help the students. And, this was, in a school that serves, I guess, what you might call inner city area. Anyway, a great bunch of students. I thoroughly, absolutely enjoyed working with them. And, I'm still in touch with some of the students. And like I said, I hope some of you all, Ultra Teen alumni, will give a shout back. And, if you abstained, if you didn't, if you're married, whatever, and you want to support or encourage other youth or give your testimony, we'd love that. And, give us your feedback. So comment below, send us an email, give us a call. You can reach us at 202-558-5550. That's 202-558-5550. And we'd love to hear from you. So basically, we started working in the school. And, it was Mr. Techley who later in the year suggested founding clubs. So we were working toward that. But our initial approach was inspired by teen advisors. We had these retreats. And the retreats were good, but it was challenging to get students to come out to the retreats. We got students from our church to come out, and we invited students from the school to come out. And, they did come out. But, of course, then we had to get them to pay for the retreat, which is challenging. Then we had, of course, they got permission from their parents. Then we have to get them to and from the retreat. So sometimes that wasn't that easy in the school environment. And we had to contact the students. How would we reach out to the students? And one way, I remember visiting all of the students. Oh, there's one of our neighbors, Mike Olin, in this photo. Hey, shout out. He helped us with the video, teaching youth to make videos. Wow. So we had a lot of help from a lot of different volunteers, a lot of church volunteers. I remember in the winter 2003 retreat, that was so crazy. I mean, without God's help, it couldn't happen. That winter was very snowy. I remember there was 8 inches of snow on the ground, and then it snowed 6 inches, and it's hilly going back into Camp Fraser. So there's no way I could get back there. I had a van, like a GMC Safari. So I had to buy chains for it, have them rushed in. Of course, you can't find any chains in Washington, D.C. So I get in there, and then I remember thinking the night before, I said, wow, it's snowing. This is crazy. Then one of the volunteers were called. I think it was Mara Jenkins. And she said, are we having the retreat? And I said, yes. And so that encouraged me, and we actually made it happen. So that was so crazy. Right. So I was saying that was really crazy. But we had the retreat due to God's grace. And, we had, like, I believe, 24 people there, like 12 staff and 12 youth. So that was wonderful. That retreat was called Finding My True Self, which is kind of like the first blessing. If you think it would be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. And then we had a second retreat, which was called Making True Friendships. That's not the exact name, but so that was also a great experience. So yeah, so it was actually did turn out to be a blessing to found our own organization. And so I want to give a huge thank you to all those who helped with those retreats, the staff members from the Unification Church, the people from Ukraine, the various volunteers from our neighborhood who helped, and from various different places. So I should add that around the time that we founded in 2002, like I said, there was an emphasis on in the my church unification movement talking about sexual abstinence, but that actually, I don't think that I know as a fact it was not, as I shared you the founder's message, at the beginning of the unification movement. That wasn't the founder's desire to drop the emphasis on sexual abstinence. But anyway, probably for internal political reasons, it was dropped. But I determined that I would do it myself. So again, is something good or is it something bad? Well, maybe it was bad. You could think in a way that that organization in Columbus, Georgia dropped us. But actually, in retrospect, that was good. Well, maybe it was bad that the unification movement didn't seem to be emphasizing sexual abstinence as a student college student or other outreach as much, or even emphasizing it at all after, say, the maybe around early 2000s. But nonetheless, and all the more, or was emphasized less, I should say. It was still emphasized probably into the early 2003-04, but fell off to that. But I determined, hey, this is what my ministry, and this is what I'm going to do, and I want to do. So I decided to, keep going on that, and that has proven to be a blessing. So, that's something to keep in mind, a life lesson. Is it good or is it bad? Well, it might seem bad at the time, but actually that's a good thing. And, and from the retreat, some of the reflections and reading the stories, even one young lady said that saved her life. She was struggling with different issues, depression. So you just never know how you'll be touched. So, I mean, you need to get out and do something. For me, this was a huge stretch. I'm not like, a youth minister in my church. I was not a youth minister. I had no position. This is just my own initiative to do this. And I did have good training from Reverend Moon, doing like fundraising and things like that. But not experience. And I had some experience teaching Sunday school a couple years. But, no experience really doing any retreat. So it was a huge stretch. But yeah, God, intervened and helped. And a lot of people were touched. And God sent the right people at the right time. Like Mr. Techley, the teacher, to say, hey, why don't you start a club? And others have been touched by this movement, as I'll share more as we go along. So this has just been something that I think every school district should have such a program. That program they have in Columbus, Georgia, that's a really great program, advising the youth. But every school can have advise youth peer counselors. And so I encourage you also to subscribe to the Urban Life Training Teacher Web Portal. That has all the materials that you need to teach about sexual abstinence. Everything you need. Yeah, I mean, you could do a retreat like the ones you see here, but these materials are great for teaching at school, for teaching at church, for teaching at community organization, and start with your family, for goodness sakes. In your family, teach the things to your kids, and it's not just PowerPoint lectures, although we do have those, but also really great. We have several videos we've made ourselves of the students giving peer counseling, of peer panels, of speakers from a university like Howard University and other universities, and various youth, from various places and various races. So it's really a good materials. You could just play it and discuss with your kids. Hey, what about this? What about, should you go over to a friend's house when their parents aren't there of the opposite sex, for instance? No, not a good idea. And all these kind of issues that you can discuss with your children. And then we've got the peer counseling materials, and we have also the faith-based materials based on the divine principle. We have sermon clips of our Pastor Hyung Jin Sean Moon. So a lot of materials that are both that cover the secular and spiritual side of sexual abstinence. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today. Do subscribe to our Teacher Web Portal, and We will see you next time for the next installment of Sex Wars in Washington, D.C. This is Rich Urban reporting from historic Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. Have a great evening.